My name is Alana, and according to my mother-in-law, I am the most ungrateful, disrespectful woman her son has ever married. That's the version of me she tells everyone at church, at family dinners, and on Facebook. The fragile, dramatic wife who can't handle real life. The one who attacked her poor, sick husband while he was lying in a hospital bed in a coma. For months, people looked at me like I was a monster. Until one day, a nurse played back a recording that proved I wasn't the problem at all. This is the story of how my mother-in-law tried to destroy my marriage using a man in a coma, and how her own voice exposed everything. When I first met my husband, Jordan, I thought I was marrying both him and his family. They were loud, close, always together on Sundays. His parents had been married for more than 30 years, and everyone said they were relationship goals. His father, Mr. Harris, was quiet but kind. He'd ask if I was eating enough, if my job was treating me right, if I needed help with anything. He was the kind of man who fixed things instead of talking about them. My own father died when I was 15, so a part of me loved having an older man around who cared. My mother-in-law, though, she was different. Mrs. Harris liked to be the center of every story. She'd talk about how hard she worked, how much she sacrificed, how girls today didn't know how to be wives. When it was just us women in the kitchen, she'd say things like, "You know Jordan deserves the best, right? He was raised with standards. My son can't live with chaos." And then she'd look at me, just long enough to make sure I understood who she thought chaos was. When Jordan and I got married, she hugged me for the pictures, smiled big, and whispered in my ear, "Welcome to the family." "Don't embarrass us," I laughed nervously at the time. I didn't realize it was a warning. The first big problem started when Jordan and I moved into an apartment across town. It wasn't far, just 40 minutes away. We both worked long hours, and the commute from his parents' neighborhood was killing us. Jordan was excited. He said, "We'll finally have our own place, our own routines, our own life." His mother was not excited. She said, "Why do you need to be so far? What's wrong with living near family? What are you hiding over there?" Then, to everyone else, she said, "Alana wants to separate my son from us. She wants to control him." Anytime Jordan disagreed with her, she blamed me. "Before you married her, you never spoke to me like that. She's putting ideas in your head. She's making you cold." I didn't talk back. I just tried to be respectful, helpful, quiet. I thought, if I'm kind enough, she'll eventually see I'm not the enemy. I was wrong. A year into our marriage, Mr. Harris had a stroke. One moment, he was fixing a cabinet. The next, he was on the floor, barely breathing. He was rushed to the hospital and put into a medically induced coma while they tried to reduce the swelling in his brain. Everything changed overnight. We started living between the hospital and work. I'd go with Jordan to see his parents almost every evening. I loved his father, and I wanted to be there for my husband. At the hospital, Mrs. Harris turned into a queen. It was like the whole building was her stage. She knew every nurse's name within days, brought homemade cookies for the staff, cried in the hallway where people could see her. To outsiders, she looked like the perfect devoted wife. To me, she was controlling every second around that hospital bed. The first time it became obvious was on a Tuesday night. I had gone straight from work, still in my office clothes. Jordan was already there, standing by his father's bed, holding his hand. I walked in quietly and said, "Hi, Dad. It's Alana. I'm here." Mrs. Harris turned to me with that tight smile she used in front of other people. She said loudly, "Oh, she finally came. We weren't sure you'd remember him with your busy schedule." I felt my face heat up. I had been there the day before, and the day before that, I had brought food, coffee, fresh clothes. But in that moment, with 2 nurses in the room and a cousin by the door, it sounded like I'd abandoned the family. Jordan squeezed my hand under the bed rail. It was his way of saying, "Ignore her, I know the truth." But it hurt. Especially because she knew it would. From then on, she made little comments every time I walked into the room. "Oh, look who decided to join us. We already prayed, but I guess you can do your own prayer later. If your husband collapses one day, I hope you remember how often his mother was here." In private, she would whisper, "A real wife doesn't leave her husband's parents alone in the hospital. My daughter-in-law is too modern for that." One day, things escalated. Jordan had gone down to the cafeteria to grab food, and it was just me, Mrs. Harris, and Mr. Harris in the room. He was lying there, hooked up to machines, breathing with the help of tubes. I moved closer, took his hand gently, and started talking to him. "Hey, Dad, it's me. I know you can't answer right now, but we're all here. Jordan's doing his best. We're waiting for you to wake up." I thought I was alone with my feelings, but I wasn't. From the chair in the corner, Mrs. Harris suddenly said, "Don't talk to him like that." I turned. "Like what?" She stood up, walked closer, and stared me down. "You talk like you're his wife. You're not. I am. You're just Alec temporary." My stomach dropped. "Temporary?" I repeated. She nodded slowly. "Women come and go. Mothers stay. If my husband never wakes up, I'll still be his. If my son wakes up and decides to leave you, you'll be nothing to this family." I felt tears burning behind my eyes. I let go of Mr. Harris's hand and stepped back. I said quietly, "I love your son, and I care about your husband. I'm not trying to replace you." She scoffed. "Then stop acting like you're the one in charge. This is my husband's room. My rules. You don't talk to him unless I say so." I stared at her, shocked. Talking to a man in a coma needed permission? I left the room and cried in the hallway bathroom. When Jordan came back, I didn't tell him everything. I just said, "Your mom and I had a disagreement. It's fine." He looked tired, torn between the two women in his life. He kissed my forehead and said, "I know she can be intense. Just be patient. She's scared." So I was patient. Too patient. A week later, things got worse. Mrs. Harris started telling the nurses that I was unstable. If I came in looking tired, she would say loudly, "You know, she's very emotional." Sometimes she says strange things. Once, when I put my hand on Mr. Harris's arm, she snapped, "Don't touch him like that. You're upsetting him. He was unconscious. His heart monitor didn't change." But she acted like I was attacking him. One nurse, a woman named Claire, started watching us more closely. I noticed her eyes following the little interactions in the room. One afternoon, Jordan couldn't come because he was stuck at work. I went alone, hoping that maybe, without an audience, his mother would be calmer. When I walked in, Mrs. Harris was already there, sitting by the bed, reading out loud from a prayer book. I said softly, "Hi, Mom. Do you want me to take over reading?" She closed the book, put it in her lap, and looked at me with pure disgust. "Don't call me Mom," she said. "You don't deserve that word." I swallowed hard. "Okay, Mrs. Harris, how is he today?" She ignored the question completely. Instead, she stood up and moved so close to me that I could feel her breath. "You know what's funny?" she asked. "The doctors say people in comas can sometimes hear. Imagine what my husband hears when you come in here with your selfish energy. If he knew how you talk to my son when no one is watching, he'd be ashamed." I shook my head. "I haven't done anything to hurt Jordan. I'm here. Every day. She cut me off. "You're here for the show. For the picture. So when he wakes up, you can say, 'Look how good I was. I visited your dad.' But you don't love this family. You want my son all to yourself. You want to drag him away from us." I took a deep breath. "I moved with him because of his job. We both agreed. And I never told him not to visit you." She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Of course you didn't say it directly. Manipulation is more elegant nowadays, isn't it? A little guilt here, a silent treatment there." I felt my hands shaking. I was tired, grieving, scared for Mr. Harris, and now being accused of things I hadn't done. I said, "I'm not going to fight with you in front of your husband." She leaned closer to Mr. Harris and said, loudly enough that anyone passing by could hear, "Don't worry, honey. I won't let this disrespectful child talk to you like that." Then she turned to me and added, "You should leave. Your energy is not welcome here today." For a moment, I considered staying anyway. But the look in her eyes told me she wanted a scene. She wanted me to raise my voice, to lose control, to prove her right in front of witnesses. So I just said, "Okay, I'll go. I hope he has a peaceful night." I turned to go, making sure not to touch anything on my way out. The next morning, my phone exploded. Jordan had sent me 3 missed calls and several messages. "What happened yesterday? Why did you yell at my mom in Dad's room? Why would you tell her she doesn't deserve to be his wife?" I stared at the screen, confused and nauseous. I called him immediately. He answered angry, hurt. "My mother said you came in, started a fight, said she was a bad wife, and that she should move on because he's as good as dead." She said you told her she was dramatic and that you were the one who really cared about my dad. I felt sick. I never said any of that, Jordan. I swear. She told me not to call her mom, said I was temporary, and asked me to leave. That's it. He was silent for a moment. Then he said something that broke me a little. I don't know who to believe. That's the thing about manipulative people. They don't just lie about what happened. They lie in ways that sound like something you could have said if you were at your worst. For the next week, things were tense between us. Jordan went to the hospital more often without me. He said it was to keep the peace. Mrs. Harris, meanwhile, told the rest of the family that I had attacked her verbally in front of her comatose husband. Suddenly, cousins stopped answering my messages. An aunt wrote me a long text about respecting elders and knowing my place. I started to wonder if I should just stop going to the hospital altogether. Then something unexpected happened. One of the nurses, Claire, caught me by the elevators one evening. She said quietly, "Can I talk to you for a moment?" We stepped aside, near the vending machines. She checked that no one was close enough to hear, then said, "I've been watching what happens in your father-in-law's room. And I don't believe the story your mother-in-law is telling." I blinked, surprised. "What story?" She sighed. "She reported you to administration, said you were being emotionally abusive in the room, disturbing your father-in-law, yelling at her. She asked if we could restrict your visits." My heart dropped to my feet. "They what?" "Relax," Claire said. "Administration didn't restrict anything. They asked us to keep an eye. So yesterday, when you came, I turned on the room recorder." I frowned. "Room recorder?" She nodded. "For some patients, especially in sensitive family situations, we record interactions near the bed for safety. Most people don't even notice the device on the wall. I had never noticed. I thought the little black box above the monitor was part of the machines." Claire continued. "I listened to the audio from yesterday. You didn't yell. You didn't insult her." She raised her voice. "She told you to leave. She said you weren't welcome around her husband." She paused, then added, "And she said you were temporary." "I'm so sorry." My eyes filled with tears. You heard that?" Claire nodded gently. "I heard everything. And I wrote a report. If necessary, your husband can hear it too. For the first time in weeks, I felt someone believed me without me having to beg." "Thank you," I whispered. "You have no idea what this means to me." She gave me a small, understanding smile. "I've seen this before. People think hospitals are only about physical emergencies. But the emotional wars that happen in these rooms, they can be worse. You're not crazy, Alana. She's trying to isolate you." That night, I went home and told Jordan everything. At first, he was defensive. "She's my mom. She wouldn't invent a whole story." I said, "Then, let's listen to what actually happened. The nurse recorded it. There's a report. Are you willing to hear it?" He stared at me for a long moment, then finally said quietly, "Yes." 2 days later, we sat in a small room near the nurse's station. Claire was there, along with another staff member for protocol. She explained the situation calmly, then pressed play. The audio was crystal clear. We heard me walk into the room and say, "Hi, Mom. Do you want me to take over reading?" We heard Mrs. Harris snap, "Don't call me Mom. You don't deserve that word." We heard the whole conversation, her accusing me of being temporary, claiming I didn't love the family, saying my energy wasn't welcome, telling me to leave. We heard my voice stay calm the whole time. We heard me say, "I'm not going to fight with you in front of your husband," and then quietly wish him a peaceful night before walking out. There was not a single insult from me, not one raised voice, not a single line that matched the story she had told. When the recording ended, the room was silent. Jordan's face was pale. He looked like someone had pulled the floor from under him. He whispered, She lied, completely. Claire said gently, "We're not here to pick sides. Our job is to report what we see and hear. This is just the audio from that day." Jordan nodded weakly. "Thank you," he managed. When we were alone in the car, he put his head in his hands and started to cry. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I doubted you. I let her poison everything." I held his hand. "I understand. She's your mother." You've known her your whole life. It's hard to believe she could do something like this." He looked at me, eyes red, but she didn't just misremember. She fabricated an entire story. She told my whole family that you attacked her next to my father. I defended her. I got angry at you. For a moment, I saw the little boy inside the man. The one who had been taught all his life that his mother was the hero of every story. In the days that followed, everything changed. Jordan asked the hospital to note in the file that he and I were allowed unlimited visitation, and that any report from his mother about my behavior should be verified with staff first. He also confronted her. I wasn't there for that conversation, but I heard about it later from him and from a cousin. He went to her in the hospital hallway and said, "I heard the recording, Mom." She froze. "What recording? The one where you told Alana she was temporary. The one where you lied and said she attacked you. The nurse recorded it. They kept a report. Her face went red, then white. She tried. I was upset. Maybe I exaggerated. You know how emotions get in times like this." He cut her off. "You didn't exaggerate. You invented, and you almost made me lose my wife." For the first time, he didn't protect her feelings over mine. She looked around, noticed 2 nurses nearby, and lowered her voice. "You're taking her side over mine?" she hissed. "After everything I did for you?" Jordan answered, "I'm not taking sides. I'm listening to the truth. And this time, the truth is recorded." After that, Mrs. Harris kept her distance from me. She didn't apologize. She didn't admit wrongdoing. People like her rarely do. But she stopped telling the hospital staff that I was a problem. She stopped posting about me online. She stopped trying to ban me from my father-in-law's bedside. Mr. Harris eventually woke up, slowly, after weeks of rehabilitation. He doesn't remember the coma, but he remembers the way his wife and his son looked at each other afterward. One afternoon, when I was alone with him, he took my hand and said, "I don't know exactly what happened while I was out, but I know my son, and I see the way he holds on to you now. So I just want you to know, Ka, I'm glad you're still here." I smiled, tears in my eyes. "I'm not going anywhere," I said softly. Later, when Jordan and I were back home, he asked me a question that stuck with me. "Do you think I'm like her?" he whispered. "Do you think I could become like that?" I shook my head. "No." "You listened to the truth, even when it hurt? That's what makes you different." Today, our marriage is not perfect. We still have arguments. We still have to set boundaries with his family. But there is one thing I will never do again. I will never doubt my own memory just because it doesn't match someone else's story. Because a nurse, a little black recording box in a hospital room, and a replay button taught me something important. People can lie with tears in their eyes and a Bible in their hands. But their lies sound very different when the world hears what really happened. If someone is trying to turn everyone against you with a story that feels twisted, remember this: healthy love doesn't need to invent villains. And the truth doesn't mind being recorded.